Do you want to know how to wrestle back control of your garden to take it from this to this without having to pull a single weed yourself? I mean, I guess. Watch the video to find out. I've got a magical solution for you. Okay. Chickens. 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 You're gonna have to explain that a bit more. Well, they just do what they do best. Eating and pooping. And I'm just getting to do that right in my garden bed so that there's less effort involved for all of us. I'm using my chickens as mobile composters. They're gonna eat my weeds and turn them into compost right inside my garden bed. We all know the traditional approach to reclaiming an overgrown garden bed. You get in there, you pull out all the weeds, you make a big pile, you take the pile to the compost, you wait for it to break down, you turn the compost, you wait for it to break down, you turn the compost again, and then you've got to shovel all that compost back onto the garden bed season later or so. Or I could just wave my magic wand, weed the garden, and get the chickens to do it for me. Go. I prefer the second method. Chicken magic. My current vegetable garden is about 38 meters square, and that's just the finished beds. There's still 2 more rows of beds to go in. Needless to say, it's big. And if you watched my last video, you'll know that I kind of let it go over winter and it got a bit overgrown. But honestly, who doesn't have that happen? Even diligent gardeners get overgrown ones. For me, it happens about twice a year when there's the big changeover in seasons. So at the end of summer and the beginning of spring, that's when there's a lot to do in the garden. You kind of need to refresh the soil and feed everything, and everything tends to be going to seed and it's all overgrown and it's an overwhelming amount of work. It's really great to be able to just plop the chickens in here and have them deal with it for me, and then I'm able to start fresh again. So with a garden this size, pulling out all the weeds by hand would take me several days of backbreaking work. And my back does break quite easily, so I'm doing everything I can to avoid that. So at those 2 times of year, it's really great to be able to reduce my level of overwhelm and work and just get the chickens in to do it for me. And of course, the chickens get a lot out of this too. They love fresh greens and a new spot to scratch in. It's great for both of us. So let's get into it. How do we do this? So the process of bringing your chickens into the garden is quite simple. We have this movable chicken tractor, which we actually use. They're in it all the time. We just move it around the different areas of the property, which is working really well for us. They're mostly in the orchards, but it's good to be able to bring them into a more contained area if we want them to really focus in on one specific patch. Hang on, aren't they just gonna eat all the veggies you actually want to keep growing? Like, what's to stop them destroying the whole thing? Yes, they will eat anything that you don't cover. So step 1 of any new chicken area is to cover the plants that you want to keep. Anything you don't keep, just assume that they're gonna try and eat it. They will eat it, and if they're not eating it, they will at least scratch it up and dig it up. So anything that's sensitive to being stood on, or just cover the plants you want to keep, please. And do it more thoroughly than you think you're gonna need to. We use these little bits of mesh and then we put pegs down. Even then, their feet, they have big, powerful dinosaur feet. Tiny feathered dinosaurs. Which can actually pull up those pegs if we don't put enough in. So we have had some casualties if they manage to remove the covers. Anyway, so step 1 is cover the plants you want to keep. Now, when it's really overgrown, it's a bit of an effort to do this. This is actually, for me, the hardest and most annoying part of the process is covering all the plants that I want to keep and making sure they're all pegged down. Step 2, bring in the chickens. Now, we have this movable chicken tractor that we use to move them all around the property. We can put them anywhere we want with this, and a movable fence. This is how not to pick up a chicken. We've had to dust these chickens for mites a few times, so they don't actually fully trust us with picking them up, which is unfortunate, but this is what happens if you just try and chase them around. It doesn't really go very well. You look dumb. You're never gonna catch a chicken like that. So we do find that using food is a much better motivation. It's pretty cute when they eat out of your hands like that. They'll even follow you to the next area if you leave them a little trail of food, rather than having to pick them up. The other way we do it is we do actually close them in the house, and then we carefully move this house around. If it's a longer move, we'll pick up the whole house and put it on a trailer and drive it to where we're going. But if it's a shorter move, it does actually have wheels on the bottom of it, so we can just pick it up and wheel it along. It's probably a pretty exciting ride for the chickens inside there, but they survive and it's fine. Now, when we put them in the veggie garden here, we did fence off the beds that we wanted them to be in. This is the first time we've actually put the fence up on the beds, and I think it worked a lot better this time. Previously, we've included some of this path area in it, and it just leaves them so that they can scratch on the ground and stuff as well, but really we want to focus all of that nutrients into the garden beds. So I think this time doing it where we just had them only in the garden beds and not on the paths worked really well. So when the chickens get in, they are so excited and very happy scratching around with all of this new dirt and new greens. They will eat everything within a matter of days. Honestly, they're very efficient workers, these girls. The benefits of doing this, of course, is that their feet will scratch the soil and aerate it. They fertilize it with their poop, and any of the organic material that they don't eat will fall down and become mulch layer and become incorporated into the soil in that way. So the weeds are either going into their stomach and being transformed into fertilizer through the chicken, or it's falling down and becoming mulch by the chicken's scratching activity. I also noticed some of these kohlrabi had aphids on them before we put the chickens in here, and I mean, obviously the food for the aphids is now gone as well, but I think the chickens actually ate the aphids as well. So another benefit of this seems to be a little bit of pest reduction, and also like they'll eat any slugs or any of those pests that you don't really want in the garden. So it's a good little reset for the whole bed. Step 3, I like to do a little bit of a midway check. So after they've been in there for a few days, if there's any areas that they're not really able to get into, maybe the soil needs to be opened up, or you've got some really stubborn tufts of grass, I will go in and like use a fork to pull up those bits of big tufts of grass, because their feet are very powerful, but they can't always get in to certain areas. So I'll always go in and check part way through and see how they're doing. And if they need a bit of extra help, you can open up the soil a bit for them. Step 4, keep an eye on them. So they do work very fast, and with these beds, we kept them in a pretty small area. So they were actually done within like 4 days.
You've done it already.
And what actually happened in that other bed was they got bored, so they managed to fly out and got into another area of the garden. So it is really important, if you've got them in a small area and you've got other sensitive plants on the outside of the fence, they can actually fly out of the fence if they really want to. So want to show off your dinosaur feet? See, they fly out of the coop real easy if you let them. Once they've done the area, it's a good idea to just move them on. Otherwise, you'll be putting more plants at risk that you don't want to. Results! So by putting the chickens in here, I've cleared about half my garden space ready for planting just by putting chickens in here for a couple of weeks. I can see the soil again. It's looking pretty good. There's the mulch here. I could put compost on this as well if I wanted to be really efficient. But I could also just plant straight into it if I didn't have any compost on hand. Yeah, I don't know, moving them around all the time seems like an awful lot of work. So it is a bit of effort, but I'd rather spend an hour or two on a weekend moving the chickens into a new spot and making them happy than spending days of backbreaking work weeding my garden bed and then still needing to compost and feed it after that. This way, both me and the chickens get something out of the deal. I wouldn't recommend doing this method if you have a lot of plants in the garden bed that you really want to keep. It can get a bit annoying to cover every single plant. So this is really a good method for when you've got a full bed or beds that you will just want to do a complete reset on, and maybe you've just got a couple of things that you want to keep. It doesn't look like they don't eat spring onions as well, so that's something to note. The other thing to note is they will eat anything that's going to seed in your garden. So if you're like me and you prefer to just let things go to seed, it's a good idea to like string anything up that's going to seed. So I actually rescued these from being eaten by just strapping them up because they're so tall. This is like a mustard. And I've let some bok choys go to seed up there because I do like to keep the seeds, and there's no guarantees that with the chickens coming in, they won't just eat everything, including all the seeds that I want to be going back into the soil. So be judicious with when you use this method. The bonus is they also will eat any weed seeds that have gone in there, but they will eat all the seeds. So any seeds you want to keep, just make sure you're keeping an eye on those plants and keeping them out of reach of chicken beaks. So it's a bit of a balance between weed suppression of seeds and keeping the seeds that we want to keep. You may have noticed I'm a bit of a chaotic gardener, so I don't have the chickens on any kind of specific rotation schedule at the moment, but that's definitely something I would like to implement because we've got several areas we move them between, and it would be really nice to not have to just think, oh, the chickens have done this area, where are they going next? But it is really working well. I've noticed they tend to be needed in the veggie garden. At those two transition points that I mentioned, the end of summer going into autumn and the end of winter going into spring. So something I'm still working on. I really like this method of using chickens in the garden because it treats the animals as collaborators. They and I are working as a team, as a system. You know, we're all part of nature, not separate from it. So this is a really great way of working together with your animals to get the most energy efficiency for everyone involved. They get something out of it and I get something out of it, and that's just great. We're creating a sustainable system that's sustainable for the soil, the animals, and for me, the gardener. Hope you enjoyed watching the chickens have the best time of their lives and learning about why we do this. Hopefully it gave you some ideas to not keep your chickens separate from your garden and to actually incorporate them into your system of weeding and feeding your garden, because it'll make the chickens happier and it'll make you happier because your back won't hurt as much. I'd love to hear in the comments your stories about using animals to help in the garden. We've only got chickens at the moment, but you better bet there's a list of things that I want to try. So give me your ideas and thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. How do you manage weeds and garden overwhelm without doing masses of backbreaking labor? I'm all about the lazy gardening methods here. Thanks for watching the video. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Hit that button. Subscribe for more garden magic. Please don't peck my face. I need to go hold a chicken. Who wants to be in the video? Chickens! Don't on me. Think we got the bit we needed? Oh, you're very sweet. Aren't you a good girl? Hi.